up and welcome Stacey Blackwood and Jake Thomas. We are back, man. Ready to do a little final look here at the Iron Bowl as they kick off tomorrow in Jordan Hare Stadium. Jake, what's up, man?
Man, I just, arisen from my coma I was in yesterday, and it wasn't, a serious coma. It was just a food coma from all the turkey and dressing and ham and everything else that I partaked in yesterday at the dinner table. And man, I'm excited. Got a day of rest here to catch up and then get ready for the Iron Bowl tomorrow.
Yes, so obviously we probably both ate way more than what we needed to yesterday, but is Black Friday shopping not part of your forte?
Not really. I've done that, been there. Nah, I'm.
Me either.
Ugh.
I'm not. I have no desire to go and wade through a sea of humanity
No,
for a
I
little bit of
just
a good deal.
Yeah, and I mean you can get those deals at the Christmas time most of the time too. So you
Yeah.
know I'm not gonna
Yeah,
fight that
we're gonna
mess.
we're gonna jump on in here in just a minute to talk. Our final look at the Iron Bowl, and we're excited about that. Really excited to get to that matchup. But first, make sure you are subscribed, whether it's on YouTube or Apple Podcast. Like I said, right now our podcast is not in actual podcast form because we're doing some switching around on podcast platforms and things of that nature. But you can find us on YouTube. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Of course, we stream everything on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, so you can find us all sorts of ways. And the chat is open, by the way, so jump on in the chat. Give us your thoughts and your opinions on tomorrow's matchup with the Auburn Tigers. Even drop us your score predictions, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe your MVP of the game. So look forward to hearing from you guys in the chat. Like I said, it's open, so just feel free to jump on in at any time. But Jake, as we look forward to the game tomorrow, I know we've already talked a little bit about it the other night, but I wanted to get another look at it and just kind of just on the eve of the matchup, Jake. How are you feeling? What are your expectations for the contest?
I feel pretty good about it. It's gonna be kind of a struggle early, I think, because it's a rivalry game. Auburn's gonna be up for it. They're gonna throw some punches, not literally, but get after us, and it's gonna be intense. But I think the second half we're gonna open it up and be fine. What I really expect to see, I think we're going to try to establish the run early, which we need to, because coming up after Auburn, we got Georgia, and I really think for us to export that defense of Georgia, we got to establish the run game early for them. So we've got to get that offensive line, clicking. Got to get them rolling. They've been doing a lot better here lately, and and get B Rob and Sanders and some of them guys some good open holes to run through, because B Rob's a madman when he runs. I mean, he's going to lay somebody out. I think he laid two guys out last week in the Arkansas game, so I think he's going to be just fine in this game. And Bryce, of course, is going to put up Bryce numbers, and I think offense are going to be fine.
Yeah, you mentioned the Georgia game, and it's hard not to look ahead to that matchup with the number one Bulldogs. Of course, I know Auburn is still in the way, but no matter
Yeah.
what happens in the contest, we're still playing in that SEC championship game. So it's hard as a fan not to look ahead to that matchup because they're a really good team. They're going to be hard to beat, but uh, like you mentioned, Auburn's going to give Alabama everything they got. Auburn has nothing to lose and everything to gain. They have not
Yep.
only bragging rights to play for, but they have a chance to spoil, possibly a playoff berth for their in-state rivals. So it's Auburn has that going for them. But other than that, Jake, man, there's not a lot when I look at this Auburn team that just really scares me. Tank Bigsby is their best player offensively, but for whatever reason, they don't really feature him the way that I thought they would going into the season. I mean, we talked about in the preseason how we thought he was probably the best running back in the SEC, maybe even the nation. And they just do not seem to feed him the way that they should, in my opinion. Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator for the Auburn Tigers, seems like he wants to, play a little more of a pro style offense and throw his, let the quarterback make plays in the passing game. But Bo Nix is out. T.J. Finley he's played some, but he doesn't have a ton of experience, Jake. So he doesn't just really, you know, give you a lot of threat in the passing game. So when I look at this Auburn team offensively, I just don't see how they're going. Even if Alabama doesn't play a great game defensively, I don't see how they're going to be able to keep up with Alabama's offense in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't understand, where the mindset is for Mike Bobo and Brian Harson when they're not allowing their best player. I would be giving Tank Bisbee 30 to 35 touches a game. And
Yes.
then Jacquez Hunter, I believe his name, about 20, a game. I mean, that's your two best players. And I understand it may be, I don't want to go into down the Bo Nix, road and all that, but Bo, he's a competitor. He played hard. I mean, he played on a broken ankle,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, but he has been consistently inconsistent his whole career. His freshman year was his best year, and he's not really improved since. So I understand that you probably don't have anybody else besides him on that roster. Well, TJ Finley now, but last year they didn't. I don't think they had a real good backup.
No.
But you, Tank Bigsby is going to be a first round talent for sure in a couple years, and
Yeah.
and, and he's a hoss. He's hard to bring down, so you got to feed him more, and they just hadn't done it this year.
Yeah. And Jacquez Hunter is a really good player. We've talked about him on the show before. But Jake, I think they play him a little more than what they should. I feel like they leave 5 to 8 to maybe even 10 carries a game away. They take that away from Tank Bigsby.
Yeah,
It seems like each and every game, and when he is your best offensive weapon, you have to get him the football. And there's other ways and other avenues to get him the ball besides turning around and handing it off to him. Get him involved in the passing game.
yep,
He is a talented player, Jake, and the fact that Mike Bobo doesn't utilize him the way that I think he should is really surprising to me because we all know what a great player Tank Bigsby is. And Justin, I'm sorry that you have to be at work, but I guess we just got it made in the shade today.
yeah. I'm thankful where I work at, and we do get good, not Good Friday. We do get it off too, but we get Black Friday off because I don't know if I could go to work after on a stuffed stomach, after the day after Thanksgiving. So I hope so. But is Harrison a one and done? That remains to be seen because I mean his name's been brought up a lot in the Washington job, and he is a West Coast guy.
Right. Yeah,
But I
I'm
don't know.
50-50 right now. I'm
Yeah, I am
I'm
too.
I'm in the boat that it would maybe surprise me a little if he moved back out west after this year, but it wouldn't shock me. So I'm kind of on the fence on that. And it may have a lot to do with what happens tomorrow. If Alabama comes out and just curb stomps Auburn, which they are capable of doing, then maybe Harston kind of thinks not that he's not a competitor, but he thinks things won't be like this out west. I'm more comfortable out west. I know what type of players to recruit out west, so that's something to kind of keep in mind as well. A lot could be said for what Harston's future is tomorrow. At about 6 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah, Justin, you're right.
I
Auburn,
agree. Yeah,
or
Washington
yeah,
does not a better
Washington's
job than Auburn. There's no
no,
question about that. But
no,
but that is also kind of a relative thing. I mean, that's relative to the person who's going to have the job.
right.
So I mean, the Washington job is more appealing to somebody from the West Coast than it is from somebody in the Southeast. So that's relative. But I agree, Auburn is a much better job than what Washington is.
Yes. And plus, the biggest question mark on Harson was how is he going to recruit, at a high level down here in the South? We know he can recruit Idaho and Montana and states like that. How is he going to do in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, where all your talent, a lot of your talent comes from,
Right.
and that still remains to be seen. Washington probably a little bit easier for him to recruit at if he can't do it at a high level down here at Auburn. So, he may be weighing that as well.
And this is something we talked about when they hired Harson last year or whenever it was earlier this year. Um, is how he would fit in here in the South. But then I thought, well, he done a really good job of hiring a staff around him of guys that are from this area, have recruited this area for a couple decades, and are real familiar with the territory. But on the field, Jake, it just is, early in the season, they were playing pretty well. They went up to Penn State and challenged that Penn State team on their home field and in a tough environment. And I thought, man, this Harsin guy may do a good job at Auburn, but they have really, fell off the map the last few weeks. And, they give up that huge lead to Mississippi State. They give up a lead to South Carolina. And they're a team that is reeling right now. And it's just not looking good for Harsin right now in year one. Even though it started out, kind of, in a positive way, it's really ended very poorly for Harsin his first year. Side note: what do you think about Napier going to Florida? That would be an interesting hire for Florida. I think Billy Napier is a good coach. Of course, it's a little different, coaching at Louisiana than it is at Florida. So it's always tricky when you're hiring a coach that's coming from a group of five school of that stature and to coming to play in the SEC, big boy football. You got Georgia every year. Kentucky's on the rise. Tennessee looks to be getting better. So there's a lot of competition that's brewing over there on the East. And, of course, on the West, you still have teams like Alabama. They play LSU every year. So Texas A&M is a team that's getting better and better. So it'll be a different type of challenge for Napier. So that would be an interesting hire there for Florida. Napier has two former Bama players on his staff. Yeah, Napier's drawn from the well of the Nick Saban coaching tree, and why wouldn't anybody do that?
Stacey and Justin, since you're here, I want to pose a question to you guys, and I want to get your opinion on it because this is how I feel. On circling back around to Auburn. To me, the success Alabama has had the past 15 years under Nick Saban, it has made some of these teams like Auburn think they're better than what they really are historically. And what I mean by, Gus Malzahn was their best coach during the time Saban's been there. I mean, he beat Saban three times. They always won 8 to 9 games a year. But historically, that's what Auburn. That's their. And I was arguing this with an Auburn guy the other day, and he's like, "Well, Alabama hadn't always had championships and all that." I said, Alabama's historically has been in SEC champions or national champions through their whole entire existence. They've been there. Auburn gets lucky once out of 10 years and has a great team and gets the national championship game. But historically, they're an 8 and 9 win team. And since Alabama's had this success, all these other teams like Auburn thinks they're better than that, and they try to go the one up when they have a coach who fits their bill and is in that historical range for them. They just want the next step, and they can't get there because that's not historically who they are. Am I wrong about that?
I don't think so. Now I have no problem with the program wanting to take that
No,
next
I don't
step.
either.
I mean that's obviously what the athletic director is required to do in
Yeah,
that position. But I'm with you, Jake. What more do Auburn fans want? I mean, like you mentioned, Gus Malzahn challenged Nick Saban more than anybody.
exactly.
I mean, anybody more than Kirby Smart,
Hmm.
more than anybody else. So I'm with you on that road. I think self awareness is important as a program, but like I mentioned, I think programs need to try to get better. But I think it's also important to realize who you are and what the challenge is when you're in the same state as a program like Alabama, who is in a historically great program. You could make the argument the greatest college football program in the history of the sport. I
Hmm.
mean, so you can't compare yourself to that, and you can't make every decision based on that. You have to make decisions that are about your program and quit trying to keep up with the Joneses. I know that you want to get better, but you have to realize who you are, and I think that's a great point, Jake. And yeah, Justin, kind of agrees. He says you're not wrong. They're like a glorified Mississippi State. yeah, yeah, they're a little bit better program than Mississippi State, but I get where
Yeah,
you're going with that.
right.
Philip of House of Harris says, imagine how difficult college football would be if
Yeah,
Saban could beat
different.
Auburn regularly like they've done Tennessee. Wow. Yeah, that would be pretty impressive. Justin says historically they're a good 8 or 9 wins on average. Very rarely have they been a factor from a national perspective. Correct. That's exactly
Yeah,
our point. That's exactly Jake's point. 8-4 is really who they are.
yeah.
And like Jake
Historically,
mentioned, once every 10, 12 years, they're going to have a spectacular season because of the prayer at Jordan Hare and the kick six and plays like that. The comeback, those type of situations happen, and they have a great historical season for them. And but like Jake mentioned, when you look at their program's history, they're not a just national contender year
Hey,
after year.
yeah. And I know Alabama went through some down years
Of course.
in the Mike years, but we still didn't win a SEC championship with Mike
That's right. I
DeBose.
mean, think
Yeah,
about that.
I
That
mean,
that was one of the darkest days
hmm
in the grand scheme of things in Alabama football history, and they were still able to win an SEC championship. And Jake, don't
yeah,
forget, under Dennis Franchione, we would have played for an SEC championship if we would have been eligible that one year.
yeah, exactly.
Even under Mike Shula, we won 10 games in a year, and we're talking
Yeah,
about some of the darkest days in Alabama's history. They were
hmm
still able to accomplish some really positive things. So
yeah,
I think this is something I don't agree with Stephen Willis on from y'all's conference network, and we love you, Stephen, but there is such thing as blue bloods. I
hmm
mean, that's just a fact. I mean,
Alabama's one of them.
I mean, Alabama, Ohio State, they're Notre Dame, what like it or not, they're always right there
Hmm
more times than not. So that I mean, they are there is such things there is such a thing as blue bloods.
hmm
Yeah, don't remind me of those years 99 to '03.
Oh
And
yeah,
just think, when you were there, Justin, we won the SEC championship game, and nobody really wants to remember that. But
hmm
I mean, it's crazy.
and one thing I want to mention real quick, I believe if I remember correctly, Saban just won his 175th game
Right.
at Alabama, but how, was it 2007? They pulled so I mean he won 7 games that year, I think,
Right.
wasn't it?
They pulled five
So
of the wins that year. So
5 of the wins.
technically he
Okay,
sits at 180 wins on the field. But when you look at the record books, it just shows 175 right now at Alabama. But
you talk about
man,
impressive.
it's incredible. Since in what 15 years he's won 175
Yeah,
games. He'll be at 200 in 2.5 years if he's still coaching, which I fully expect. So uh, you can see after the video from the other night during Hey Coach that this guy's not lost his competitive spirit. This still means a lot to Nick Saban. His players
absolutely.
still mean a lot to him, and he has their backs. And I love the fact that after he made those comments, not only Alabama players, former and current, but even Kerryon Johnson, an Auburn player, retweeted that and like, man, that was really good.
Yeah.
So he still has that fire in him, and I don't see it dying anytime soon.
DJ Ungula's father even
Yes.
retweeted it. I mean, I cannot believe I said that right. But I usually just say ukulele because I can't say ukulele, but I did pretty good anyway. But on going back to the historical thing, it does help having the right coach and the right fit
Of
like Nick Saban
course.
has
Of
been.
course.
But you could take a B prime coach and I mean look at Dennis Franchione and guys like that,
Right.
and we can
That's my
still
whole
get
argument
yeah.
against saying there's no such thing as blue bloods
Yeah.
because I mean Jake Dennis Franchione is not a great coach. Mike DeBose is
No.
not a great coach. Mike Shula was not a great coach.
No.
But each of those guys had 10-win seasons at Alabama.
Exactly.
And,
And
and,
you're
and you
you're
look at, and I'm not trying to take shots at Stephen Willis and Ole Miss because Lane Kiffin did a great job. But last
true.
night they got their first ever 10-win regular season, Jake.
Yeah.
We done it
Exactly.
with Mike DeBose, Mike Shula, and Dennis Franchione.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
And we're always going to get players or recruits because of just our historical meaning, our historical
right.
program. Our history sells itself, but
Yeah.
having the right coach like Nick Saban just helps improve that matter to get championships. But like you said, we have won with B list coaches,
Yeah.
in the past. So it's just
Some
what it is.
programs just have a winning attitude. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just you can't explain it. It's kind of intangible. It's I don't know really how to explain it, but it it just proves that there is such thing as a blue blood when like I said the three Mikes and or the two of the Mikes and a Dennis Franchione can win 10 games at Alabama.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of some the proof is in the pudding.
And Alabama was winning national championships and before
What? Yeah,
the Bear got there.
before
So I
Bear
mean,
Bryant, after Bear
yeah,
Bryant. I mean,
yeah.
it's
I mean, It's just a historical rich program. It's always going to be that way.
Right.
So
One of my co-hosts, this is Justin. One of my co-hosts, Marvin Constant, isn't budging from his stance on what's going on. He's still printing Fire Pete shirts. I'm not expecting Pete to be back after this year. After what happened against Arkansas, uh, not that our defense is terrible. They're not great. They're okay. I mean, but they should be better because of the talent that's on the field. So I'm not expecting Pete to get back, but I do think he's going to get another job somewhere, and I think it's
yeah,
going to be, kind of the way Doug Nussmeier went out as the offensive coordinator when he went to Michigan to be their OC. It was, he's going to take a lateral move because Saban's like, either you take a lateral move or you're gone. So yeah, but see, Justin, that's what I'm saying. Those 10 wins, he says, those 10 wins under DeBose and Franchione and Shula wasn't because of coaching.
right.
That's what I'm saying. It's a winning culture. The culture is about winning at the Blue Bloods. I mean, Oklahoma's pretty much always good. Alabama's pretty much always good. Ohio State is pretty much always good. Notre Dame is pretty much always good. I mean, so it's just that's my whole point. We act like USC is a dumpster fire, and at the moment they are. But Jake, it's only been like what, less than 20 years since they've won a championship,
Right. They have. I
and
mean,
they won a couple of them.
Yeah. I mean, the
So
Reggie Bush years were crazy.
right, I mean that's what I'm saying. And somebody says with the talent on defense, we should be every bit as good as Georgia. I agree. There's no excuse for the Alabama defense not to be as good as Georgia's defense. The talent is pretty much equal. Apparently, the coaching is not up to par on the defensive side of the football. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only answer. It's not a
Right.
lack of talent.
Now I want to see how the players respond after hey coach and coach went off on a rant because like you mentioned they was retweeting it. They was saying got me fired up, coach, and all that. Prove it on the field.
Yep.
That's what I mean. It was a shot at the fans, yes, but I think it was also a shot at you guys because he knows y'all can be playing a lot better than what y'all have shown this year. And like we
Yeah,
had mentioned,
it
yeah,
was kind of one of those moments where he's like, all right, guys, I got your back here.
yeah,
I need you to get my back the rest of the season.
right,
Let's
exactly,
prove all these people wrong.
yeah,
That's the
and
vibe I got from his little rant he had there the other night. But
exactly,
we're getting ready to kind of wind this down. We don't want to keep everybody too long. We went nearly 2 hours the other night on this, and but we do appreciate everybody that's watching right now and that has joined the chat. Real quick, if you're still watching and in the chat, jump in there and give us your score prediction for the Iron Bowl. We're really excited about the matchup tomorrow. We talked about a little bit here at the beginning of the episode how we're not, even if Alabama doesn't play a great game, Auburn really doesn't have enough offensively to keep up with Alabama. So I'm really expecting Alabama to. At first, I really wasn't expecting them to cover the around 20 points or so that the spread is
19 and
at
a
right
half,
now.
I think.
The closer the game gets, I feel like Alabama probably covers that spread, maybe even a little more. I can see them getting around a 24-point victory over Auburn. So I'm really looking forward to the matchup. It's gonna be hard for Auburn to generate much of an offense, especially if they can get the ground game going. And we've seen Alabama. They're not elite against the run, but they're pretty much as good as anybody else in the country against the run. So holding teams to around 2.5 yards per carry is pretty solid. So it's probably going to be a long day for Auburn, especially offensively and probably defensively as well. I'm not sure that they have any answers for Jamison Williams and John Mechie and those other guys that are making plays for the Alabama offense.
Yeah, going in.
Justin says the rant came from two things: frustration from due to the problems we don't normally have and are not being corrected, and the fans being overdemanded. Yeah, absolutely. Anthony says, "Is Kool-Aid starting over Job? Have you heard? I haven't heard anything for
I
sure
hadn't either.
on that. I would not be surprised if Kool-Aid gets the start, but Saban is a loyal guy. Job isn't a terrible player, so it wouldn't surprise me if he gets the nod again. And Justin, I'm glad you said that. I see this as a statement game for Alabama. And one thing I wanted to bring up, we talked about how it's hard not to look ahead to Georgia, but what I want to see in this game is for this, especially offensively for Alabama, give that Georgia defense something else to scheme for. Make them take 30 minutes out of each practice session this next week because what Alabama does against Auburn, whether it be formations or different packages with different players and different personnel, I want to see that from Alabama against Auburn to give that Georgia defense something else to try to prepare for there in the SEC championship game.
I think you mean Kool Aid, Justin. You said Joe's still not 100%, so we're more likely to see Joe. I
Yeah.
think you meant Kool Aid
No, yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Job
yeah,
is still dealing with that turf toe, I believe,
yeah.
and Justin's right. I think we'll probably see more Kool Aid this week,
Well,
and I think the two biggest things to remember about that corner spot is Job is a very experienced player. Kool Aid is still very inexperienced. Job does a really good job of playing in coverage. I mean, he pretty much always has his man covered. And Kool Aid does too, but Kool Aid is more of a playmaker.
yeah,
He's more of a guy who's going to pick the pass off and maybe take it to the house. Job just doesn't do that. I mean, he's only got a couple of interceptions, and he's been there for 100 years.
yeah.
So I'm more leaning towards that we may need to start seeing Kool Aid more.
Well, I want to bring up two things real quick. Talking about the interception thing. Look what Trayvon Diggs has done in the in the
Right.
NFL. He only had I think two career interceptions at Alabama. So again, is that coaching? Is that scheming? I don't know. But the other thing is, you was talking about our run defense only averaging about 2 point. They're only giving up 2.2 yards a carry. Something to look out for. Tank Bisbee only needs 65 yards to get 1,000 yards. So can Alabama keep him under that, or is he going to have a big day? So it's going to be mono on mono because our defensive front looks like they're finally getting better. Of course, Will Anderson's going to do Will Anderson things. Dallas Turner's going to do things, but it seems like LeBron Ray, Philadelphia Mathis has been very good all season. Tim Smith, DJ Dale, I don't know if he's going to play or not. I haven't heard. But Byron Young, them guys are starting to get a little bit better. Now, Justin Agboibe has just been non-existent all year. I don't know what's gotten into him. That's the one player I wish would step up his game. But the other, it seems like the defensive line minus Agboibe is starting to come around a little bit, which is good for the playoff push in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Justin says Kool Aid is a modern day Langham. If he can be as
Oh
good as Antonio Langham,
man,
we're in pretty good hands for the next couple seasons with Kool Aid McKinstry.
I still watch. They call it was it the play that shoot the world or shot the world or whatever. Talking
Yeah,
about
I know what you're. I
yeah.
know what. Yeah,
I
the
mean,
interception in the SEC championship game.
yeah, I still get chills watching that. I mean, they was killing it. Or Florida was killing us with that whole high low all
Hmm.
day, and he just read it right that one time, and it was off to the races. I mean, I get chills every time.
Yeah, Justin Jamil Burrows is a guy that I'm surprised hasn't
Yeah,
seen more action. But
mhm,
with the amount of depth on the defensive line, it's hard to play everybody. I mean,
it
it really
is.
is. And so, yeah, I'm with you though. I would like to see a little more Jamil Burrows.
Yeah.
All right, if there's really not any more questions, we're going to get ready to head out. We're really excited about the kickoff tomorrow. I hope Alabama plays well. I hope they save their best game for the Bulldogs, though, because they're not going to need their best game to beat the Auburn Tigers. But I am with Justin in this in the area that it really is a chance for Alabama to make a statement tomorrow against
Yes.
Auburn. They're much better than Auburn. They should beat Auburn by 3 touchdowns or more. So hopefully they take care of business and do that, while also giving Georgia more plays and more formations and more personnel packages to look at as they prepare for Alabama and the SEC championship game, December 4th. So we're excited about that. Excited about the game tomorrow. Cannot wait for kickoff. Always fun for the Iron Bowl, and I look forward to the matchup. Jake, any final thoughts before we kind of wind this show down?
No, you said at the beginning of the show an MVP. Of course, I believe it's probably going to be Bryce, but we can't
Right.
pick him. But you know, I would just as a team, I just want to see us, improve where we need improvements at. The secondary needs improvement. Our offensive line needs improvement. I just want to see some improvement there, and I'm really interested to see. I'm hoping Brooks, like you said, has a big game because I'm really, really anxious to see who that third option is going to be outside of
Yeah.
Mechie and
Yeah.
Williams. So, and he's shown promise, like last week. So I'm
Well, and
excited.
maybe Ja'Cory Brooks is the guy that Georgia's like, dang, we may need to kind of prepare for him a little bit too. So maybe that happens
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Having another option outside of John Mechie and Jamison Williams, could be huge for Alabama offensively,
Exactly.
especially against a team like Georgia, who is led by their defense.
Hmm.
Anthony says, "Roll Tide guys, beat Albany. Bama seems to be playing down to the teams they play. I hope they change that narrative tomorrow against the
Yeah,
Auburn Tigers, because they are a much better team and they need to take care of them as quickly as possible and stay healthy and get ready for the SEC championship game against Georgia. You beat the Bulldogs, you're in the playoff, man, and it's hard to ask for anything more than that."
I know, man. It's exciting times, but it's there. Oh, it's there for the taking for us.
That's right. Yeah, Justin says I thought Holden was going to be the third guy. He's gone quiet. Yeah, not sure what's happened there. It's it's a strange situation on the wide receivers outside of Mechie and Williams.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is strange.
yeah, it is. But we
All
got we
right,
got talent there. We just got to get it rolling.
that's right. That's
Mhm.
right. All right, guys. Hey, we're gonna end it there. Appreciate everybody that was in the chat today. We wanted to get another final look here at the Iron Bowl matchup between Alabama and Auburn, and we're really excited about that. 2:30 kickoff on CBS. Uh, so look forward to the matchup. Hopefully Alabama comes out and plays well. But for Stacey Blackwood and Jake Thomas, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.